Hello. Today's focus is the vocalic portion of nonverbal communication and the meaning behind what we say. We will walk you through an understanding of vocalics and bring to light the range of cues that each of us utilize in our nonverbal language every day. After each explanation, we will show you media examples that showcase what we mean. Communicate. Although most people are able to take an idea and form it into words, the message and tone of the idea are accentuated by nonverbal communication. Eye contact, gestures, facial expressions, and posture are a few of many ways a message can be transmitted and received. A great example of this is a stereotypical teenager. Take a phrase such as, "I'm going to clean my room." It's a simple phrase, and the message, without any context, would be that the individual is going to clean their room. Now, if we add in slumped shoulders, an eye roll, head tilt, and voice modulation, we get a completely different message. We now are able to make the assumption that the stereotypical teenager in question is not happy to be cleaning their room. This is the beauty of nonverbal communication. Here highlighted are pitch and tone. Vocalics also represent volume, rate, resonance, articulation, and silence. Before we go any further, let's define what we mean by vocalics. Vocalics is also known as paralanguage and is the way we use our voice to convey a meaning through silence, laughter, sighing, pauses. It's how you say your words. It's the meaning behind what we are actually saying. It can be specific to your culture and social norms. The voice colors the impression we form of others and influences our attraction to them. As we see here, voice tones and physiology, both nonverbal communication, make up 93% of what we communicate. Only 7% is actual words. We also need to take into consideration the complexity of nonverbal vocalics. To take it beyond our meaning of what we are actually saying or sending, which is called encoding, we also have to consider decoding. Decoding is receiving a message that was sent. Sometimes the message is received, and sometimes it's not. To further complicate it all, there are also display rules that represent your culture and upbringing that can mask your true feelings. For instance, some are not allowed to express sadness. We are about to dive into our vocalic examples in media, but first, let's start with a few fun facts. Did you know your voice is basically a reed instrument? A reed is a thin strip of material that vibrates to produce a sound on a musical instrument. Our voice works in the same manner since air is pushed through our vocal folds. The vocal folds vibrate as air passes through them as we breathe. Did you know both male and female candidates with lower voices were significantly more likely to win? Voters are influenced by the pitch of a candidate's voice. Now let's get into each vocal cue, starting with pitch. The first subcategory of vocalics we will cover is pitch. Pitch involves the tone in which a word is spoken. It is not to be confused with volume, which we will cover next. It is often accompanied by facial expressions. For example, the question "what" can be interpreted in many different ways depending on the tone. We have the inquisitive "what?" The frustrated "what?" to convey a specific emotion. The only difference in each of these examples is the pitch. The voice rises and falls in a pattern that can help indicate what the speaker is trying to encode. We are going to illustrate pitch next by showing Mrs. Weasley from the Harry Potter series. This is a great example because her voice pitch changes depending on who she is talking to. As she speaks to her children, she is trying to convey anger and fear, so her pitch goes up accordingly. As she talks to Harry, she uses a softer pitch to show understanding and hospitality. The second clip is from the show Friends. In this scene, Ross is trying to pretend that he is fine after walking in on Joey and Rachel kissing. He repeats the word in a few different pitches. Let's watch.
Where have you been? Harry, how wonderful to see you, dear. Bed's empty, no note, car gone. You could have died. You could have been seen. Of course, I don't blame you, Harry, dear.
You are happy, then I'm happy for you. I'm fine.
Really?
Absolutely. I'm fine.
Volume and pitch tend to go together. They are both unique ways to give a special meaning to a word or phrase. Volume can help get a point across by intensifying the message. It's important to note that we all have a unique volume. Some people have a much lower, normal volume level, and some have a much higher volume level. It can depend on many different factors, including culture and physical ailments, such as hearing loss, for example. For the examples that we're going to show you today, we will focus on two drastically different volume intensities. The first is from the show The Office. In this scene, Michael is yelling no repeatedly. We can tell that this is most likely not his normal tone, and he's in some sort of distress as his body is stiff, his movements are quite sudden, and his face is contorted as he yells. The second example is from Seinfeld. In the scene, Jerry and Elaine are struggling to hear Kramer's date in the restaurant. She speaks in a low volume, which seems to be her normal tone since she is speaking to everyone at the table, and Kramer is fully able to understand what she is saying. She is relaxed and laughing. So let's check it out.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
That's true. I'll be right back.
Articulation is the production of sounds which are produced and coordinated with muscles and nerves controlling the timing of the lips, tongue, teeth, and lungs. Articulation is unique because there can be many variants of it, but we typically associate tense articulation with positive traits, such as authoritative or knowledgeable, and lax articulation can be caused by many different reasons. For example, someone who has a lisp is not able to articulate in the same way as others. Society tends to associate the lack of articulation as a sign of weakness. Here are two great examples of strong articulation. It's important to understand that articulation does not always mean the correct pronunciation. We see this in our public speakers. The first gentleman is a naval officer giving a speech. You can see his effort in articulating. He speaks with confidence and with great muscular control. In the second clip, we see Nelson Mandela giving a speech. He has a heavy accent, so his pronunciation is not always accurate, but he speaks with great control.
I can assure you that it matters not whether you ever served a day in uniform. It matters not your gender, your ethnic or religious background, your orientation, or your social status.
It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand.
Resonance is what can make a voice attractive or unattractive. Although it varies from one individual to another, we can look at mass media to see what makes a voice enjoyable. When we watch documentaries, the narrator usually has a pleasant and soothing voice. When a character is meant to be disliked, weak, or annoying, the speaker will typically speak with a more nasal-based resonance. What makes it enjoyable or not is how the vibrations from the vocal bands are resonated. As the lungs push air through the vocal bands, they vibrate and resonate according to size and the shape of the various cavities. The examples we are about to show display a typical attractive voice and a voice that is considered unattractive. In the first clip, we have the smooth and masculine voice of James Bond, played by Sean Connery. His voice is strong and rich, which aids in his persona of the suave secret agent. In the second clip, we have a scene from The Nanny. Fran Drescher is well known for having an extremely nasal-based voice. It is higher-pitched and considered whiny at times. The contrast of her funny yet attractive persona and her nasal voice is a major part of the show.
Can I do something for you, Mr. Bond?
Just a drink.
A martini, shaken, not stirred.
Hi. Excuse me, Miss Fran Drescher, but I am your biggest fan. Oh, thank you. My God, you really do talk like that. I would make this up.
Silence can be an incredible nonverbal communication. There are times when speech fails to communicate exactly what the speaker is feeling. Silence can sometimes emphasize an emotion such as sadness, anger, or happiness. It can also be a sign of thoughtfulness as someone contemplates an answer to a question. It can signal that the speaker is waiting for a response. No matter how it's used, silence is a great tool. For the first example, we see how the director Martin Scorsese uses silence to show the strong emotions in the scene from the movie Raging Bull. This already intense scene is heightened due to the silence. The second example is from the movie Couples Retreat. In this scene, we see an example of couples therapy. The couple is struggling to communicate, and we see how uncomfortable basic communication is between them since they are unable to speak to each other. The silence heightens the uncomfortable situation between them. Let's check out the clips.
Come on, Ray.
Hi.
Hello.
For example, if a speaker would like to emphasize a word or a phrase, they might slow down their tempo to show the importance. If a speaker is angry, they may speed up or slow down their rate depending on what they are trying to express. In the examples of rate, we see the contrast between a fast rate and slow rate. In the first clip, we see Ace Ventura, pet detective, listing off details. Before he begins, he takes a deep breath and proceeds to speak at an incredibly fast rate. In this scene, we see how this silly and entertaining character has actually compiled a lot of evidence. In the second clip, we see a slow pace. In the movie Zootopia, the MVD is run by sloths. We see the rabbit detective losing patience with the slow rate at which the sloth speaks and operates. Let's check out the clips.
On the palm of your left hand is a type 1 sustains breaking a fall of 3 to 5 feet. The small remnants of plaster on the tip of your shoe pointed to a careless mason being the culprit. Your new watch, a quality forgery of a Cartier, was most likely purchased through the North African black market, known to reside in Khotan.
What do you call a three-humped camel?
I don't know. What do you call?
By highlighting and diving into the complexities of vocalics, we hope that you are able to encode and decode messages in a new light.